Hello and welcome to NTD News Today. I'm Chris Beers.
And I'm Stephanie Cox. We have insights and perspectives
on the stories shaping our world.
Breaking news, in-depth analysis, and inspiration to power your day.
Today we're starting our show with the nomination hearings of 2 district judges, a circuit court judge, and an assistant attorney general position at the Department of Justice. This is a hearing hosted by the Senate Judiciary Committee and chaired by Senator Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois. We'll be looking at the nominations of Seth Robert Aframe of New Hampshire to be the United States Circuit Court Judge for the First Circuit, which is based in Boston. Also, Edward Sunyol Kiel to be the U.S. District Judge for the District of New Jersey. We'll be looking at Sarah French Russell to be the U.S. District Judge for the District of Connecticut, as well as Christopher Fonzone of Pennsylvania to be an Assistant Attorney General at the Department of Justice. Let's tune in.
Today we'll hear from 3 judicial nominees and an executive nominee. Seth Aframe, nominated to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. Judge Edward Kiel, nominated to the District of New Jersey. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that name. Is that correct? Thank you. Sarah Russell, nominated to the District of Connecticut, and Christopher Fonzone, nominated to be an Assistant Attorney General in the Justice Department's Office of Legal Counsel. I congratulate all the nominees and the families and friends supporting them here today. We have several colleagues joining us today to introduce today's nominees, and I will introduce Mr. Fonzone personally. But first, I'll turn to Senator Graham for opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think tomorrow we'll be taking up subpoena request. None of us will support that, and Senator Grassley and I are working on some subpoenas of our own. So if you want a subpoena war, you'll get one. I can't believe we're doing it in the middle of all this stuff, but there you go. Thanks.
Thank you, Senator. We'll hear introductions of our nominees. First is Senator Shaheen to introduce Mr. Aframe.
Thank you, Chairman Durbin, Ranking Member Graham, Senators Grassley and Whitehouse. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce Seth Aframe, who is nominated to serve as a judge on the First Circuit Court of Appeals. Mr. Aframe is joined today by many proud family members who are sitting with him, his wife Karen, his sons Max and Noah. He's also joined by his parents, Lisa and Jeff, his brother Craig, and his in-laws, Ellie and Ed Sondick. Thank you all for being here. Mr. Aframe is an impeccably credentialed and highly respected member of the New Hampshire Bar. He is a graduate of Georgetown University Law School and has spent most of his legal career in public service. Since 2007, Mr. Aframe has worked as an assistant United States attorney in the New Hampshire United States Attorney's Office, where he currently serves. He is chief of the criminal division and chief of the appellate division. He's tried 20 cases in federal court and argued more than 100 appeals before the First Circuit. He has more appellate experience than almost any attorney in New Hampshire. And it speaks volumes that all 4 former U.S. attorneys who Mr. Aframe has served under, appointed by both Republican and Democratic presidents, are supporting his nomination. In a joint letter, these former U.S. attorneys say of Mr. Aframe, and I'm quoting here, "Each of us regards Mr. Aframe as a distinguished and persuasive appellate advocate who has successfully represented the government and earned a well-deserved reputation for excellence. His knowledge of the law is extensive. His writing is pristine and persuasive. We doubt there is any practicing attorney who has briefed and argued more cases before the First Circuit." End quote. But the praise is not just from prosecutors. A group of defense attorneys who have litigated many times against Mr. Aframe have also lauded his nomination. Again, I'm quoting, "We believe Seth has a perfect judicial temperament in what is often a difficult role as a prosecutor. He epitomizes open-mindedness, courtesy, patience, freedom from bias, and commitment to equal justice under the law." End quote. Moreover, the ABA echoed these glowing endorsements in giving Mr. Aframe a unanimous, well-qualified rating. Outside of the courtroom, Mr. Aframe is an adjunct professor at the University of New Hampshire Franklin Pierce School of Law, demonstrating his steadfast commitment to sharing his legal expertise and the benefit of his robust appellate and criminal experience with attorneys of tomorrow. Above all else, it is abundantly clear to all who know him and have worked with him that Mr. Aframe's intellect and his commitment to preserving justice and integrity in the law make him an excellent candidate to serve on the federal bench. His nomination is also supported by the former president of the New Hampshire Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers and past presidents of the New Hampshire Bar Association, among others. In reflecting on their time working with Mr. Aframe, his former colleagues at the U.S. Attorney's Office said, quoting again, "His knowledge of the law is deep and extensive. During our time working with Mr. Aframe, there is no other person who was relied upon more to clarify complex legal issues, provide sound and thoughtful advice on legal strategies, and to aid in providing the best representation of the United States." Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Graham, Senators, I believe that Mr. Aframe's deep appellate experience, his unwavering commitment to equal justice under the law, would make him an excellent judge. Thank you again for allowing me to introduce him today. I'm honored to be here, and I urge the committee to support his nomination.
You are tuned in to the nomination hearing of Seth Robert Aframe of New Hampshire to be the United States Circuit Judge. We heard from Senator Dick Durbin introducing the hearing. Also, Senator Lindsey Graham chimed in for a very brief comment saying, you know, we're doing these hearings in the middle of subpoena requests, assuming he's alluding to the the Biden family investigation undergoing in the House right now. He was introduced. Seth Robert Aframe was introduced by the Honorable Jean Shaheen. Aframe went to Georgetown University Law School. He was assistant U.S. attorney in New Hampshire. He's also an adjunct professor at the University of New Hampshire, and Ms. Shaheen had a really glowing review of him.
So Senator Shaheen, she's a Democratic senator, and she pointed to many colleagues of Mr. Aframe's who obviously support his nomination, describing him as open-minded, having perfect judicial temperament, and wanting to uphold the law in this impeccable sense, the integrity of the law. This position does have quite a lot of sway, as U.S. federal court judges do, but the circuit judge obviously will be assessing appeals from lower courts, and a lot of those, will be that the lower court covers civil and criminal cases. Many high-profile cases we've seen recently in the headlines. Of course, Trump being in the headlines. There's so many other things we can cover soon.
Right. Yeah, and just a little explainer, for our audience. What is the difference between a district court and a circuit court? Like we're hearing the nomination hearing for Aframe. We'll also be hearing the nomination hearings for district court judges. Basically, the district court system and the circuit courts are part of the federal court system, which also, of course, includes the Supreme Court. And there are 94 U.S. district courts in the country, organized under 12 districts, under 12 regions or circuits. If you include the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit, that brings the total number of circuits to 13. And like Steph is saying, the districts hear different cases, and the circuit courts hear appeals to those cases.
And these judges, notably, are appointed for life. So, but they usually sit on a panel when they're assessing cases, so what they cover is appeals from district courts, as we've mentioned, decisions or appeals of federal administrative agencies, and also some original proceedings that are filed directly with that court.
And just a quick, interesting tidbit about Seth Robert Aframe. He worked on the New Hampshire Laser Docket program, which prioritizes treatment over punishment for certain low-level drug offenses. Looking to bring people with low-level drug offenses through a program to help to rehabilitate them and to help them become a better member of society. All right, we'll have more on these Senate hearings, Senate nomination hearings, after the break.
Hi, I'm Susan Lucci. I never thought about heart disease until I had my own heart event. I received 2 stents in my arteries, stents developed through research funded by the American Heart Association. Those stents saved my life. I have met so many survivors. Each of them tells a story that can be so helpful to women out there.
Everything was pretty good. It was a very happy life. I was given the diagnosis that I had peripartum cardiomyopathy, which is basically a pregnancy-induced heart failure. They told me my only chance was a heart transplant.
And the American Heart Association helped make that possible. Their research helped save me.
I think everyone should support the American Heart Association. Call now or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help fund the next medical breakthrough. Get the next person trained in CPR, the next hospital certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. You can be part of that very important work that the American Heart Association is doing to save lives everywhere. Give $19 a month with your credit card, and we'll send you this special t-shirt that you can wear to show that you are helping save lives.
I'm grateful for just every day that I get with my children. I am very thankful for the American Heart Association.
Heart disease is America's #1 killer, and your support now can help save your life or the life of someone you love. Listen to your heart. The only reason I'm here today is because I did. So please call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org now. Join me as a monthly donor today and help save even more lives.
My graduation was something I will never forget. People like you and me sometimes may have doubts in yourself, but I feel that everything's possible.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with HomeLight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shenyun.
Welcome back. We are tuned into a few nomination hearings. We just heard the nomination hearing, the introduction for the nomination hearing of Seth Robert Aframe. We're looking at 2 district judges, the nomination hearing for a circuit court judge, that's Aframe, as well as an assistant attorney general position at the Department of Justice. And this hearing is hosted by the Senate Judiciary Committee, chaired by Senator Dick Durbin. Let's tune back in.
Senator Hassan.
Well, thank you, Senator Shaheen, and thank you, Mr. Chair and Ranking Member Graham, and distinguished members of this committee. I'm honored to be here to join Senator Shaheen in introducing Seth Aframe of Hopkinton, New Hampshire, to the committee. And I am pleased to join Senator Shaheen and other New Hampshire leaders in supporting Mr. Aframe's nomination to serve as judge on the United States Court of Appeals for the First Circuit. I also want to thank Mr. Aframe's family for being here today. I know how proud they are of him and how proud he is of them. As you heard from Senator Shaheen, Mr. Aframe is exceptionally qualified to serve on the First Circuit Court of Appeals. The American Bar Association unanimously rated him as well qualified, the highest possible rating, and at every step of his career, Mr. Aframe has demonstrated professional excellence. Granite Staters know that they can always depend on Mr. Aframe to pursue justice, exercise fairness, and do right by the people of New Hampshire. Mr. Aframe's work in the U.S. Attorney's Office includes arguing many cases before the First Circuit, leading the appellate and criminal divisions, and working on the Laser Docket, a drug court that helps get people struggling with addiction into treatment. His exemplary service in the U.S. Attorney's Office is matched by his dedication to his community. He has taught at the University of New Hampshire's Law School for 15 years. He regularly gives back to the next generation of aspiring lawyers by serving as a judge for student mock trials. He has served both as a member of his local school board and as president of his synagogue, Temple Beth Jacob. In this way, Mr. Aframe demonstrates the New Hampshire ethos of all hands on deck. That's our approach to service. And Mr. Aframe has demonstrated that approach in serving his community, his state, and his country. It is therefore no surprise that many Granite Staters have come forward to strongly endorse Mr. Aframe's nomination to the First Circuit. 4 previous United States attorneys for the District of New Hampshire wrote a letter stating, quote, "Each of us regards Mr. Aframe as a distinguished and persuasive appellate advocate who successfully represented the government and earned a well-deserved reputation for excellence." It's not only Mr. Aframe's fellow prosecutors who have confidence in his abilities. New Hampshire defense attorneys, including public defenders, also trust and support Mr. Aframe. Charles J. Keefe, writing a letter on behalf of these defense attorneys, wrote that in what is often a difficult role as prosecutor, he epitomizes open-mindedness, courtesy, patience, freedom from bias, and commitment to equal justice under the law. Mr. Aframe also has the backing of many New Hampshire law enforcement officers, including one letter that highlighted how, quote, "We have observed firsthand Seth's professionalism and unmatched abilities as a federal prosecutor. His honesty, straightforward demeanor, and overall compassion for people have distinguished him in that role."
And at this point, Senator Menendez is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Graham, distinguished members of the committee. Today I have the pleasure of joining Senator Booker in introducing another exceptionally well-qualified nominee for the U.S. District Court of New Jersey, Mr. Edward "Son" Kiel. If confirmed, Mr. Kiel would be ready to serve on day one. He already knows the District of New Jersey and the Newark Courthouse. After all, it's where he has capably served as a U.S. magistrate judge for the past 4 years. In every case and at every step, he's demonstrated an even temperament and a resolute commitment to equal justice under the law. During his time on the bench, he has shown a keen intellect and a deep reverence for precedent and the rule of law. In addition to his regular duties, Judge Kiel serves as Newark's Vicinage's pretrial opportunity program, an initiative that offers treatment alternatives and non-custodial sentences for eligible individuals. Before his dedicated judicial service, Judge Kiel spent 27 years as an attorney in the Garden State, developing an extensive record, including a pro bono work for numerous organizations as well as several church groups. He has sterling credentials and a wealth of accumulated trial experience. But beyond these qualifications, I would submit to my colleagues that what makes Judge Kiel an ideal candidate for the federal bench is his lived experience. Judge Kiel was born in Daegu, South Korea, to parents who fled North Korea on foot during the war. To hear him tell his story, his parents didn't have much in the form of material possessions, but nonetheless they considered themselves rich. Guided by unwavering faith, they set out towards uncertain shores in America with just $40 to their name, a gift pooled together by relatives before the journey. On their very first Sunday in the United States, Judge Kiel's mother, who is here with us today, placed the money in the church's offering plate. What an amazing story of resilience and optimism. What a powerful testament to the American dream.
You're watching the nomination hearing of Edward Sunyol Kiel to be the United States District Judge for the District of New Jersey. This is hosted by the Senate Judiciary Committee, chaired by Senator Dick Durbin. We just heard from Senator Bob Menendez talking about Edward Sunyol Kiel. Before that, we heard from the Honorable Maggie Hassan talking about her glowing endorsement of Seth Robert Aframe, which we covered in the first part of the hearing. Let's just touch on a little bit of what she said first. She said the Bar Association says he's well qualified, which I guess is the highest level rating you can get from the Bar Association. Dependable. She mentioned the laser docket program to help people who have certain people who have low-level drug offenses, get help instead of going through trial, or maybe before trial. And she mentioned that his prominent role at the synagogue, and just a lot of other very glowing reviews.
Yeah, it was a very glowing review, saying he had an all-hands-on-deck approach to service, and that he had high levels of honesty, compassion, and a straightforward demeanor. All things that you would want to see in an upstanding court judge. We also, as you mentioned, heard from Senator Menendez, and just now a fairly moving story of Sunyol Kiel's migration to the U.S. So what we're seeing here is a combination of their credentials, their formal credentials, and character. Obviously, these two things are highly important when it comes to parsing court decisions and all the issues involved with that. You want to really trust the people that we're putting in there.
That's right. Yeah, Menendez mentioned how Edward Sunyol Kiel's parents fled, I think it was North Korea to South Korea, then to the United States with $40. That was a gift, money pooled from their family members to help them when they got here.
Yes. Quite stirring, really. Now, in terms of district judges, their role is, as I mentioned earlier, addressing civil and criminal cases, and they supervise the pretrial process and also conduct the trials. So that includes jury selection and instructing the jury, ruling on the admission of evidence and pleas in criminal cases, and also sentencing the defendant if they're sentenced. So
that's right.
Yeah, but there are some notable decisions that district court judges have made in recent times. We had District Judge Tanya Chutkan maintaining her gag order on former President Trump in his Washington case. So what he's calling an infringement of his First Amendment rights, which basically restrict him from criticizing certain aspects and elements and people involved in that case. But this all comes as he's running for president again.
That's right. And just looking again at Kiel, the district judge for New Jersey nominee, if he is nominated, if he's confirmed, and his counterpart, Jamel Semper, is also confirmed, then New Jersey will have a majority of Biden nominees on the district court. They have a total of 7 judges in that district. All right, we'll have more on the Senate nomination hearings after the break.
You have one new message.
Dr. Bonatti, this is Norm Evans. I played for the Dolphins and the Seahawks. Anyway, I was just calling to say thank you to you again because I'm feeling great. No more back or neck problems after all these years, and I'm doing well thanks to you. I just wanted to say thank you and let you know I was thinking about you. I always do. Okay, God bless you, friend. Keep up the good work.
Visit AskBonatti.com.
Hi, everyone watching at home. We're here to remind you that if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have live agents available right now to answer your questions and tell you how much your case is potentially worth. Hi, I'm Gina Bellich, here with spokesman and TV personality Tom Mustin with us in the Help Center. So Tom, phones are really busy over there. Tell us what kind of calls you're seeing.
Well, Gina, first off, thank you for having me here in the call center with you. We always enjoy talking to the viewers and getting folks the compensation that they deserve. You know, we're seeing calls about all kinds of accidents, but the most common by far has been car accidents. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident that was not your fault, give us a call right now. You'll speak with a live person. They'll answer any questions you have and tell you if you have a case and how much your case is potentially worth.
Thanks, Tom. All right, folks at home, you heard it. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now.
Do you listen to the TV on high volume or have trouble hearing conversations? Then you would benefit from hearing aids. Don't waste thousands on expensive hearing aids when you can get Nano's revolutionary technology for just $297. Don't be fooled by higher-priced hearing aids. The CIC Recharge is a true hearing aid, not an amplifier. With rechargeable technology many customers say is superior to more expensive models. Call now and get not one, but two Nano hearing aids for just $297. Plus, we'll add a portable charging case and ship your order absolutely free. The CIC Recharge has a tiny in-the-ear canal design that is nearly invisible. Why keep missing out on important conversations or waste thousands of dollars? Call and get two CIC Recharge hearing aids for only $297 and free shipping.
800-631-4622. Again, that's 800-631-4622.
Thank you for staying with us. We are watching the nomination hearings of two district judges, a circuit court judge, and an assistant attorney general position at the Department of Justice. This is hosted by the Senate Judiciary Committee, chaired by Chairman Senator Dick Durbin, from a Democrat from Illinois. Let's tune back into the hearing.
Senator Booker.
I truly appreciate joining with Senator Menendez in really celebrating an extraordinary American. Judge Kiel, who's with us right now, is someone that should make our whole nation celebrate. He's joined here by his mother, Gracie, his wife for 25 years, Nancy, and his three children, Elizabeth, Amanda, and Andrew. Good to see them all here. He's joined by his brother and sister-in-law and members of his judicial chambers. This is extraordinary to have this gathering of New Jerseyans here to witness something that is truly special. As Senator Menendez says, Judge Kiel was born in South Korea. His mother and late father escaped tyranny in North Korea, and they did that during the Korean War. Judge Kiel's family ultimately settled in New Jersey, where his father founded New Jersey's second oldest Korean church, the Korean United Presbyterian Church in Bloomfield, New Jersey. And his mother worked as a dry cleaner in the dry cleaners to support the family. Together, Judge Kiel's parents built a life in New Jersey motivated by faith, a desire to serve community, and a love of country. Fealty to this nation, faith, and family. There's nothing more American than that trifecta. And their sacrifice and their love raised a man who is, in many ways, as James Baldwin said, children are never good at listening to their elders, but they never fail to imitate them. Judge Kiel's nomination is momentous, and here's the really magic of it. It is a full circle realization of the American dream. I hope my committee members listen to this. Should we confirm him as a federal judge, he will serve in the same courthouse where his parents were naturalized as citizens of this great country. Judge Kiel's confirmation will bring us so much closer to ensuring that our judiciary is truly reflective of the rich tapestry of experiences of all Americans. It has been a privilege of mine to get to know this family. They have moved me and inspired me. And Judge Kiel now is a fixture in our nation and in our state. Again, in that trifecta, he's a fixture as a faith leader. He's a fixture as a family man. And he is a mentor to so many great young attorneys, many of them who are here right now. It is amazing that Judge Kiel is someone who would be a great leader in and of himself, but would be a trailblazer in his position as a Korean American federal judge in our state. There are many, many obligations as a United States Senator, but perhaps none is more exciting than to be able to be a small part of the ascendancy to the judiciary of such extraordinary Americans as this one.
I now recognize Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for holding the hearing, and thanks to President Biden for nominating this extraordinary group of lawyers and people with such broad and impressive experience to the federal bench. I'm very honored to support Sarah Russell, a nominee for the District of Connecticut Federal Court. Senator Murphy and I were privileged to suggest her to President Biden, and we thank him for moving forward, and this committee, Chairman Durbin and Ranking Member Graham, for having this hearing today. I can't really say too much in favor of Sarah Russell. She is what we litigators would call the real deal. She has the intellect, but more than just the book smart learning and academic qualifications, she has the emotional intelligence to be a truly great judge. The caring and compassion combined with toughness, which is required of a judge, and the experience of not just teaching and litigating, but actually combining the two. She has taught students how to litigate. And I have personal experience in knowing of her work as a litigator in the federal courts. She graduated from Yale as an undergraduate and then Yale Law School. She clerked for two extraordinary federal judges, one district court judge and the other a court of appeals judge. And then she began an extensive and impressive career in the courts, which has won her praise from prosecutors, from academics, from everybody in the Yale and Connecticut legal community.
We are watching the nomination hearings of 2 district judges and a court judge, as well as an assistant attorney general position at the Department of Justice. We just heard comments on the 2 district judges. That's Edward Sunyol Kiel of the District of New Jersey. He's a nominee for there, as well as Sarah Russell. She's nominated to be the U.S. District Judge for the District of Connecticut. Let's start with Kiel. We heard about Kiel in the last segment. We also, in this segment, we heard from Cory Booker, Democrat, talking about Edward Sunyol Kiel, just sharing more touching stories about his life. Really, it sounds like the American dream. You know, his parents came over here with literally $40 in their pocket, raised from their family in South Korea, and they worked as a dry cleaner in Bloomfield, New Jersey, I used to live near there, actually. And yeah, they sacrificed, and I guess they set a good example for him because, you know, he's nominated to be a U.S. District Judge.
And, you know, Senator Booker was putting forth his recommendation for Sunyol Kiel, but his demeanor, I felt, was very positive. He looked so almost not quite ecstatic, but really, really happy to be putting forth that recommendation. So
he seemed genuinely happy.
Yeah, seemed sort of somewhat like a celebration or something. Right. And he said that, you know, actually, this is someone who should make our whole nation celebrate. That's a quote from Booker.
We could use more of that.
Right. And he called him, you know, he said that he would be a trailblazer based on his experience and his background as a Korean fleeing North Korea. And yeah, that this could be the full circle realization of the American dream.
Right. One interesting thing about Kiel is that, like I was saying before, if he is confirmed and his counterpart, Jamal Semper, is also confirmed in the District of New Jersey, the 17-judge district will have a majority of Biden nominees sitting on the court there. Both of these two nominees are will succeed Obama-appointed judges. And actually, one other thing about Kiel is that he was actually on the short list for a seat on the New Jersey Supreme Court.
Oh, interesting. And of course, then we heard about Sarah Russell, another nominee. Senator Blumenthal calling her the real deal, and obviously high praise for her intellect, her emotional intelligence, calling her truly great. So, you know, this is quite a shining recommendations we're hearing at this nomination hearing.
That's right. And just to kind of talk about, you know, what is a district judge? What is a circuit court judge? You know, for a lot of people, these names get thrown around all the time in the news, but how many of us actually take the time to go and look it up? Well, that's what we're here for. Basically, the district court and the circuit court system are part of the federal court system, which of course includes the Supreme Court. The district courts, there are about 94 of them. There are 94 of them throughout the country, and they're organized into 12 regions, also known as circuits. And yeah, right?
Yep, and they cover civil and criminal cases. A notable case recently was that of being presided over by District Judge Tanya Chutkan. But we covered that earlier. Another one is District Court Judge Mary Ellen Norica. That's the Hunter Biden case and the notorious or sweetheart deal, which,
right. Yeah, essentially back then, I don't know if all of you remember, but essentially what was being alleged is that the federal prosecutor prosecuting Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden's defense, critics were saying that it seemed like they were teaming up to bring a sweetheart deal before the judge down there, and the judge was appalled at what she saw. I guess it would have given Hunter Biden sweeping immunity over many of the different allegations he's facing.
Yeah, so these are high-profile cases. These are high-profile positions. We're yet to see how this turns out, but we do also expect to hear recommendations for the DOJ Assistant Attorney General position. That may be coming up shortly, and that will, cover various aspects of the responsibilities of an Assistant Attorney General, which is also highly consequential.
That's right. Yeah, and just looking a little bit more at Sarah Russell, like we were talking about before, the nominee for the United States District Judge for the District of Connecticut. She focuses her research and teaching on sentencing policy, juvenile justice, as well as prison conditions. She was previously director of the Arthur Lehman Public Interest Program at Yale Law School, so pretty distinguished person. And she worked at the Federal Public Defender's Office in New Haven, Connecticut, where as an assistant federal defender, she represented impoverished people in the federal court. So we'll have more on these hearings, these nomination hearings at the Senate after the break.
Y'all know me. Every day I'm hustling. I'm grinding and making deals because a girl loves her bling. But the one thing I don't have to hustle for is paying for expensive car repairs, thanks to CarShield. Plans through CarShield can protect up to 6,000 parts and systems in your car, including the engine, transmission, air conditioner, entertainment system, and more. That's right. CarShield administrators get cover repairs paid on the most expensive parts of your car, all for one low monthly rate that never goes up, for as long as you cover your car. That's their price lock guarantee.
I want to keep my car on the road as long as possible, and CarShield Administrators helps me do that.
I trust CarShield Administrators because they paid my claim.
Being an essential worker and a mom of 3, finances can be very tight at times. If it wasn't for CarShield, I wouldn't have my car.
And with their best coverage ever, CarShield Administrators go the extra mile, including car rental options. You'll also get 24/7 coast-to-coast roadside assistance for flat or damaged tires, lockouts, dead batteries, and courtesy towing, all at no additional cost to you. That's right. You don't need to do any hustling for these extras. They're all included.
The cost will break down, there's no doubt about it. That's just the way it is. I got stuck with high repair bills before. That's why I called CarShield.
Nobody likes expensive car repair bills. That's why you have to call CarShield before you break down.
Darlings, if you want to be smart and get those car repairs paid, then call CarShield now. Leave the hustling to the professionals. Pick up that phone right now before your car breaks down.
Protect yourself from the unprecedented rise in costs for parts and repairs. Call now to save money with your price lock guarantee. Call 800-418-7697. 800-418-7697. 800-418-7697.
Kindness is cool. Because we feel happier when we do good. Kindness connects us with others and improves our self-esteem. Simple actions, meaningful lives. Let's practice kindness, share our love, and show our care for one another. Submit videos of kindness to Gangjing World for prizes up to $10,000 in cash. For more information, visit gangjingworld.com.
Thank you for staying with us. We're tuning in to the nomination hearings for 2 district judge positions, a circuit court judge position, and an assistant attorney general position at the Department of Justice. This is under the Senate Judiciary Committee chaired by Senator Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois. We heard about Seth Robert Aframe for the U.S. Circuit Court judge position, the First Circuit Court based in Boston. We heard about Edward Sunyol Kiel to be the U.S. District Judge for the District of New Jersey, as well as Sarah Russell to be the District Judge for Connecticut. Now let's tune back into the hearing and probably hear from about Christopher Fanzone to be the Assistant Attorney General.
Now I am pleased to introduce Mr. Christopher Fanzone, nominated to be an Assistant Attorney General in the Justice Department, Office of Legal Counsel. Born in Allentown, Pennsylvania, received his undergraduate degree from Cornell, his JD from Harvard Law School. He then embarked on 2 extraordinary clerkships. He clerked first for Judge J. Harvey Wilkinson on the 4th Circuit Court of Appeals, and then for Justice Stephen Breyer on the United States Supreme Court. Mr. Fanzone has a significant amount of experience in federal government, including the Department of Justice. Began his legal career as an attorney with appellate staff in the Department's Civil Division, also served as attorney advisor with the Office of Legal Counsel, 2 years as special counsel in the Office of General Counsel at the Department of Defense. For 4 years, from 2013 to 2017, he held several roles in the White House, including service as counsel in the White House Counsel's Office and legal advisor to the National Security Council. After leaving the White House, he spent 2 years as member of the Fulbright Foreign Scholarship Fund at the State Department, completed a stint in private practice advising clients on privacy and cybersecurity before returning to public service. In 2021, President Biden nominated him to serve as general counsel to the Office of Director of National Intelligence, confirmed by the Senate on a bipartisan basis for that job. An impressive dedication to public service. I look forward to hearing more about his breadth of experience. Congratulations, Mr. Fanzone, to your family and friends who have gathered here today. Before we move to the first panel with Mr. Aframe, I've been asked to recognize my colleague, Senator Whitehouse.
Thank you very much, Chairman, and
hope my colleagues will indulge me for 1 second because I have long pending business with the Department of Justice that I need to bring to resolution, and I hope very much that that resolution can be achieved before a committee vote on Mr. Fonzon, and certainly before a floor vote, so there is no delay in getting him into the office of legal counsel. But for my colleagues' benefit, I want to explain why it has come to this. Back in the Obama administration, I asked Attorney General Lynch to take a look at whether the successful DOJ civil RICO case against the tobacco industry for fraudulently misrepresenting the dangers of its product was a template for litigation against the fossil fuel industry. After considerable prompting, I ultimately received this letter from the Department of Justice, FBI, which told me two things. One, be assured this referral was taken seriously and was thoroughly assessed. Second, the government must prove beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of an illegal enterprise. For those in the room who aren't lawyers, this was a civil RICO case, and beyond a reasonable doubt is a criminal burden of proof. And if you actually went and looked at the tobacco complaint the DOJ brought, it actually pled the burden of proof. So clearly, whoever wrote this letter had not even bothered to read the complaint. So I take no solace in the assertion that this referral was taken seriously or was thoroughly assessed. 8 years later, there's still no evident sign of an honest look having been taken. 8 years. The FBI's supplemental background investigation into Brett Kavanaugh after the sexual assault allegations surfaced during his confirmation process seemed to violate DOJ and FBI policies, and false things seemed to have been said about it. So I've pressed to understand what actually went on. During the time that the FBI virtually opened its files to committee Republicans to investigate the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, literally box loads of documents, I was refused any information, including things as simple as the FBI's public tip line policy guidelines. We found it on the internet. Materials eventually gradually dribbled out, but very slowly. No claim of privilege, just stalls and non-cooperation. That has now been a 5-year wait, and I would like to get this matter resolved. Then in the Trump administration, the Antitrust Division sent a threatening letter to auto companies that had embarrassed the White House by concluding emissions negotiations with the state of California that the fossil fuel industry didn't like. I'm not a great antitrust expert, but I do know that when corporate interests gather to lobby governments, that is exempt from antitrust, the Noah-Pennington doctrine.
We are tuned into the Senate nomination hearings of 2 district judges, a circuit court judge, as well as an assistant attorney general position at the Department of Justice. This is hosted by the Senate Judiciary Committee, chaired by Senator Dick Durbin. We began the segment just now with reviews of Christopher C. Fonzon, of Pennsylvania. He's nominated to be an assistant attorney general for the Department of Justice. And then we heard Sheldon Whitehouse airing some grievances. It looks like he's taking this opportunity, this nomination hearing, to air some grievances. Just getting into Christopher Fonzon, the nominee to be an assistant attorney general at the Department of Justice. He was born in Allentown, Pennsylvania. They're saying he has significant experience, worked in private practice for a time, and he's now the general counsel to the Director of National Intelligence. One thing about Mr. Fonzon is that during his confirmation hearing for his general counsel position to the Director of National Intelligence, he faced pretty serious criticism. Senator Ben Sasse of Nebraska said, "You can't work for Huawei and then work for the Director of National Intelligence." And he was confirmed just in, I think it was 2021. In 2017, Fonzon worked with Sidley Austin, a law firm that did legal work for China's Ministry of Commerce and Huawei. That was after Huawei had been banned after U.S. companies were banned from using Huawei networking equipment in 2012, and that's why Ben Sasse was saying you can't work for Huawei and then work for the Director of National Intelligence.
And all this comes at a time when U.S.-China relations are becoming increasingly tense. You know, we have China eyeing off Taiwan. We have all these warnings around the world from governments, even in Europe, also, you know, taking steps to protect against espionage from the Chinese regime. So some of which has been known to come through Huawei, or at least the U.S. Government has designated Huawei as an issue of concern.
Right. Also, like we were talking about, I think it was last week, about China buying oil from Iran despite international sanctions to the tune of $80 billion in the past few years. And of course, Iran has been funding the Hamas terrorist group in Gaza that committed the atrocities on October 7th.
So this Assistant Attorney General position, you're saying there are actually a couple of thousand Assistant Attorney Generals.
Over 200,000.
Over 200,000, all right. So that's quite a number. But in DOJ Assistant Attorney Generals handles many divisions and offices of the DOJ, including the Antitrust Division, Civil Division, Civil Rights Division, the Criminal Division. You know, it just, the list goes on. Environmental and Natural Resources Division. So I guess there's a reason, but these are, you know, significant areas that have developments, recent developments.
Right, and significant impact. And it is concerning that this fund zone worked with, Huawei, China's Huawei, the Chinese company, that's been used to, accused of surveilling you know, foreign nationals, foreign to China, that is. But yes, we're commenting on the Senate Judiciary Committee's nomination hearings of 2 district judges, a circuit court judge, and like we were just talking about, Fanzone, an assistant attorney general. We already heard about Seth Robert Aframe from New Hampshire. He's nominated to be the United States Circuit Court judge for the First Circuit, which is based in Boston. And for those of you who are a little confused about the terminology, a circuit court is part of the federal court. It's an appellate court. It sees appeals cases from district courts, and there are about 94 district courts across the country organized into 12 regions, also known as circuits.
And there are some notable cases and recent cases in the appeals court, such as in the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan. A lawyer for Trump is arguing, or last month argued, that a lower court judge was wrong to reject the defense of absolute presidential immunity after it was raised in columnist E. Jean Carroll's suit against Trump. So that's being considered by the appeals court judge there. We have a federal appeals court saying that a group of Arizona physicians can challenge the state's ban on abortions for genetic abnormalities. That's a significant one, you know, that could have more wide-ranging consequences. And we also have the U.S. Appeals Court recently ruling that California should keep its assault weapons ban in force. There's a lot of topical things happening right now in appeals courts across the nation.
And of course, the ultimate appeals court is the Supreme Court, and any one of those cases could end up in the Supreme Court.
And actually, the appeals court decisions do affect the Supreme Court's decisions, or they can.
Sure, I'm sure Supreme Court justices are looking at those rulings. And we also heard about, you have something to say?
Oh no, I mean their decisions can apply to the Supreme Court. Yeah, anyway.
Got it. And we also looked at Edward Sunyol Kiel, who's a nominee for the U.S. District Judge for the District of New Jersey. His parents actually fled from North Korea into South Korea and raised about $40 from their family, and that was all they came over here with. They started a laundromat, and so this district judge nominee is really, his story is really the American dream story. That concludes our coverage on these Senate nomination hearings. We will have more news after the break.
The highest art is beautiful, breathtaking, timeless, and moving. Experience art with 5,000 years of history, inspired by the divine. Experience Shenyun.
Did you know African elephants could become extinct in our lifetime? In fact, more than 90% are already gone. If we don't act now, they will disappear forever. But we can't do it alone, because when it comes to saving elephants, it's you plus IFAW, the International Fund for Animal Welfare. You plus IFAW together can help stop poaching, protect habitats, and save thousands of elephants. Call or go online right now to join IFAW.org and give $19 a month, only 63 cents a day. You can save elephants and the places they call home. Together, we can fund rangers to stop poachers in their tracks, protect the land elephants need to roam and survive, and provide loving care for those who have been orphaned so they can one day be released back into the wild. But the only way we can do this life-saving work is with you plus IFAW. So call or go online with your gift right now. With the monthly support of people just like you, elephants like Moses are alive and thriving today. It takes years of hard work from dedicated teams so orphaned elephants can learn the skills they need to survive in the wild. So please, call now or go online with your monthly gift. You can help provide the urgent care elephants need so this generation won't be the last. And when you use your credit card, you'll get this exclusive membership kit, including your very own IFAW t-shirt to show it's you plus IFAW standing together to help rescue and care for these majestic creatures. The danger for elephants is more urgent than ever before. That's why we need you. It's going to take all of us to help save elephants before they disappear forever. So please, call right away or go to joinifaw.org with your monthly gift, because together, you plus IFAW can save lives.
Have you ever helped a fellow veteran?
Of course.
Yes. Have you ever asked for help yourself?
It's always tough, right? I always feel like I can solve my own problems, but eventually, you just can't deal with it on your own.
And you start to question, maybe people would be better off without me. When you realize that you're not alone, once you take that first step, there's so much support.
Donald Trump Jr. set to testify in the New York civil trial. He will be the first of Trump's adult children to take the stand. What the former president has to say about it.
A $40,000 check traced back to China. A House committee says it shows the president benefited from his family business. How did the money get directly to Joe Biden?
A United Nations official is stepping down, calling for an end to Israel. However, it seems like this isn't his only reason, and the Iranian regime is set to chair a UN Human Rights Forum this week.
The name of Israel wiped from China's top digital maps, while names of neighboring countries remain intact. What could the discovery mean as war intensifies between Israel and Hamas terrorists?
U.S. Federal Reserve will announce today whether it will raise interest rates. Investors consider it a near certainty that the central bank will not.
The dangers of artificial intelligence. Elon Musk and hundreds of others are at a UK summit discussing AI safety. Find out how the UK hopes to take a leading role.
Two sons of former President Trump are taking center stage this week. They're set to testify at the New York civil fraud trial against the family and their business.
The oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., is taking the stand today. He'll be followed by his brother Eric Trump later this week.
Trump Jr. and his brother Eric are accused of knowingly participating in a scheme to inflate their father's net worth to obtain financial benefits.
In a deposition last year, Trump Jr. distanced himself from the financial statements. He said he relied on the accounting and legal departments at the Trump Organization when he signed the paperwork.
In a post on Truth Social, the former president wrote that his sons should have never been brought to the stand. He told the judge overseeing the case to leave his children alone. Trump also argued that there is enough evidence for the case to be dismissed.
The former president himself and his daughter Ivanka are set to take the stand next week. That's even though Ivanka Trump is no longer named in the lawsuit.
House Representative and MAGA Republican Troy Nehls is set to testify in defense of former President Trump.
Nehls said on X he will appear as a fact witness in the Colorado lawsuit that could keep Trump off the ballot.
Plaintiffs in the lawsuit are using a legal theory under the 14th Amendment and say that Trump took part in an insurrection. Nehls calls the trial a sham and said he was at the Capitol on January 6th and there was no insurrection.
Nehls was a law enforcement official and Army reservist for decades, which could inform his opinion on the events of January 6th. Former President Trump was acquitted of an impeachment charge of inciting the Capitol breach, and no criminal charges of insurrection were brought against him.
Next, we have some breaking news. The House Oversight Committee is presenting evidence that President Biden received $40,000 from his family business.
It released bank records of the transactions between the Biden family and its Chinese business associates. Chairman James Comer explained how the money ended up in Joe Biden's account in September 2017.
Not only did he lie about his son Hunter making money in China, but it also turns out that $40,000 in laundered China money landed in Joe Biden's bank account in the form of a personal check. First, Northern International Capital, a Chinese company associated with CEFC, wired $5 million to Hudson West 3, a joint venture established by Hunter Biden and a CEFC associate. Then Hudson West 3 sent $400,000 to an entity owned and controlled by Hunter Biden. Next, Hunter Biden wired $150,000 to Lion Hall Group, a company owned by James and Sarah Biden. Sarah Biden then withdrew $50,000 in cash from Lion Hall Group. Later the same day, she deposited it into her and James Biden's personal checking account. A few days later, Sarah Biden cut a check to Joe Biden for $40,000. The memo line of the check said loan repayment.
Comer added that even if the $40,000 check was a loan repayment from brother James Biden, it still shows how Joe Biden benefited from his family cashing in on his name with money from China.
This new allegation could push forward Biden's impeachment inquiry. The committee previously made public a $200,000 check, also from James Biden to Joe Biden. It was dated 2018 and was also labeled as a loan repayment. Turning to the war between Israel and Hamas. The Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt opened for limited evacuations today.
Close to 500 dual citizens and foreign passport holders trapped in Gaza, expecting to be let out. Ambulances lined up at the border in Egypt this morning to pick up critically injured patients.
The 80-some Palestinians will be the first allowed out of Gaza since the war began. The deal between Egypt, Israel, and Hamas, in coordination with the U.S., was reportedly mediated by Qatar. It's unknown how long the crossing will stay open.
Israel's military said today it struck over 11,000 targets belonging to terror groups in the Gaza Strip since October 7th. That's an average of around 440 strikes per day.
The IDF says 9 more of its soldiers were killed in ground operations, bringing the total up to 11 since Israel stepped up its offensive last week.
A UN official in New York is coming out against Israel just before his retirement.
The official in New York said there is a genocide of Palestinians and that's his motive for stepping down.
He sent a letter to the UN's High Commissioner in Geneva calling Israel a racist settler colonial project and accusing it of apartheid.
He also called for it to be dismantled in line with the goals of Hamas and other terrorist organizations.
The official in question is Craig Mokaber. He's the director of the New York office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. He lived in Gaza in the 90s.
Although he now says he's stepping down due to this conflict, he has already reached retirement age, and he had reportedly already informed the UN of his upcoming retirement in March, way before the most recent conflict.
Meanwhile, the Iranian regime is set to become a chair of a UN Human Rights Forum on Thursday. This sparked outrage among human rights organizations around the globe.
The Iranian regime was appointed to host the Social Forum of the Human Rights Council back in May. Iran's appointment to chair the forum can still be overturned.
UN would have to hold a special meeting before Thursday. Many are now calling for that to happen, including the UN Watch.
Amid all this, a Republican congresswoman has introduced a bill to defund the United Nations Human Rights Council unless it condemns the Palestinian terrorist group Hamas. The Stand with Israel Act was introduced by Florida Republican Anna Paulina Luna. It received bipartisan support. In a press release, Luna said that condemning one of history's deadliest attacks against the Jewish people should not be a heavy lift for the UN. Introduction of the bill coincided with calls for the resignation of UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres. It follows a speech that some have interpreted as justifying the actions of Hamas. Yesterday, Luna pointed out on X that China sits on the UN Human Rights Council despite the ongoing persecution of Uyghur Muslims there and failing to condemn the October 7th attack by Hamas.
At least 10 Israeli soldiers are dead after taking part in the ground operations in northern Gaza.
Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today mourning the deaths, but he says Israel will continue to attack.
Our soldiers have fallen in this most just of wars, the war for our home. I promise you and all citizens of Israel, we will continue until the mission is complete. We will continue until victory.
Israel previously vowed to crush Hamas's ability to govern Gaza or threatened Israel following the October 7th assault.
Meanwhile, an Iran-aligned group in Yemen posted this video today. The group says the video shows missiles and drones they launched against Israel.
Also today, Israel's military said Hamas officials are creating an image of a destroyed Gaza and pointing blame at the IDF. That's after an airstrike killed the Hamas commander hiding in tunnels under a refugee camp. Israel says this shows how Hamas uses Palestinians as human shields.
The Israeli military today also said it deployed Navy missile boats to the Red Sea. They say that's in line with the current situation and part of defensive efforts in the area.
And U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken will visit Israel on Friday. That's for meetings with members of the government there.
He'll also make other stops in the region. Earlier this month, Blinken visited Israel and 6 Arab countries in the area, including Egypt, Saudi Arabia, and others.
At a hearing yesterday, Blinken talked about Gaza's future after Hamas. He said a revitalized Palestinian government should take over Gaza after Hamas is destroyed. Meeting of the superpowers. President Biden will meet Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping in San Francisco this month. We speak with Anders Kaur, publisher of the Journal of Political Risk, about how Biden should approach China amid its increasingly tense relationship with the free world. Anders Kaur, thank you for joining us again. It's just been confirmed that President Joe Biden will meet with Chinese regime leader Xi Jinping later this month. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said in regards to this meeting, quote, intense competition means intense diplomacy. What do you expect will be the president's approach to diplomacy here? And does that differ from the approach that you think he should take if you were advising him?
There's a fundamental imbalance, I would argue, in the bargaining power that Biden at this point has with Xi Jinping. And that is that, China has seeded conflicts around the world, whether in Russia with Ukraine or in Israel with Hamas. And that makes Biden and his administration almost, I would argue, almost desperate for peace. And I think that you see that in the run-up to this meeting in terms of the many visits to Beijing of U.S. government officials, all essentially begging for more engagement, begging for a meeting, with Xi Jinping. And I think that right away that puts us arguably at a disadvantage in terms of bargaining.
And how do you think Biden should approach this meeting with Xi Jinping, given China's tactics and the different issues you've raised just now?
I would question whether the meeting should even be taking part in the first place. The relationship is with a genocidal and totalitarian power. So should we really be normalizing relations even further with China by meeting in a state visit that will look to the world as if essentially we're supporting Xi Jinping? When you meet with someone like that, I think there's a real question about what the optics are, what the message is to the world. It tells the world this is a reasonable head of state that you can do business with. And I would question whether the juice is worth the squeeze there in terms of what are we really getting from this? What are we giving away? What are they asking? What are they demanding? For this meeting?
Right. This is Xi's first visit to the U.S. in 5 years. Talk to us a bit about the significance of this gap in time.
The Trump administration took a tough stand against China, which I think is the right approach. Biden has followed that sort of on the coattails of Trump in terms of keeping the China tariffs. What we need to do really is move to a more coordinated effort in our dealings with China. So the entire G7, the EU plus the G7 countries, France, UK, Italy, etc., Japan, need to take a coordinated approach, I think. And I think when we meet individually with Xi Jinping as countries, which is what we've been doing, I think it really gives the bargaining leverage to Xi. Whereas if the G7 met with Xi Jinping jointly and had a coordinated bargaining position, I think we'd get a lot more for our money.
All right, Andrews Core, thank you very much for your time. Up next, an Alaska man is arrested after he allegedly threatened to harm a senator. It's the latest in a string of threats made to public officials.
And a real estate industry group is colluding to keep home sale commissions artificially high. A jury finds them liable for $1.8 billion in damages. More in just a moment here on NTD News Today.
I'd like to say this is the first time, but there have been others.
How many?
Who can keep track?
You think this is a joke?
Darling, we need answers, and you're gonna give them to us.
Tell us again.
My car broke down. I brought it here. I got stuck paying an expensive repair bill.
So it's true.
How much, darling?
$2,300.
$2,300.
Well, what was I supposed to do? My transmission was shot.
You pick up your phone and you call CarShield before the car breaks down.
Plans through CarShield cover up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car.
That's right. A plan through CarShield could save you on some criminally high auto repairs, especially if your car is out of warranty. So, call CarShield, America's #1 auto protection company, before a breakdown and save yourself from getting stuck in car repair jail.
Let me guess. You hate saving money.
Who hates saving money?
Apparently you do.
All you had to do was call CarShield. And you could have protected yourself against expensive repairs.
Yeah, and then my price will go up the minute I file a claim.
Shut up! CarShield has the price locked in.
For as long as you cover your car.
I guess I should have called CarShield?
It's about time you said something that made sense.
Now you know what you need to do next time.
Bet he'll call CarShield now.
So can I go? Or
Don't get handcuffed paying expensive auto repairs. Call now and get the CarShield guarantee. Your price will never go up and your coverage will never go down as long as you cover your car. In just minutes, you could have a plan that covers up to 5,000 parts and systems in your car. Don't wait until it's too late. Get CarShield's best coverage yet. Call 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729. 800-965-0729.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new Pocket Hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow. And when you turn off the water, away it goes. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, 3 times stronger than the other hoses. And I love the oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Get the super light 25-foot Pocket Hose Copper Bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our Turbo Shot adjustable nozzle, absolutely free. This is an exclusive advanced release of our 2024 edition Pocket Hose. Order now.
Call 1-800-617-2364 or visit copperbullethose.com. So call 1-800-617-2364 now.
Thank you for staying with us. Law enforcement has arrested a man in Alaska after he allegedly threatened to harm a senator.
Authorities say the suspect sent an email to a lawmaker's website, angry about a recent eviction. When he was contacted by the FBI, he reportedly confessed to making threats.
It's unclear which senator he was trying to intimidate. The arrest is the latest in a string of threats to public officials.
I'm feeling the same as Jews are feeling all around the world, under attack and under threat. Now, I have full confidence in our Department of Justice and law enforcement to work on this case. But frankly, students across the country, K through 12, our college campuses, look at the protests around the world. Jews are feeling under attack.
Police arrested a man last week in Nevada for alleged anti-Semitic voicemails targeted at Senator Jackie Rosen.
The Nevada Democrat has been a strong advocate for Israel.
Mississippi governor and his Democratic challenger are set to face off tonight in their only debate.
The event will mark the end of a contentious campaign 6 days before the November 7th general election.
Governor Tate Reeves and Brandon Presley have proposed significantly different platforms.
It's an uphill battle for Presley as Republicans have held the executive office for the past 20 years.
The incumbent and his opponent have stark disagreements about Medicaid and taxes. Presley called on Reeves to take part in 5 debates, including one last month sponsored by the NAACP.
But Reeves agreed to only one. During the 2019 campaign for governor, Reeves had 2 debates with Democratic nominee Jim Hood.
The debate with Presley is scheduled for 7 p.m. Central Time. Sheriff's deputies in Polk County, Florida, say they seized enough fentanyl to kill 5 million people.
Sheriff Grady Judd said 3 suspects were arrested.
This was the single largest, let me say that again, investigation and seizure of fentanyl in the history of Polk County. They tried to treat us with fentanyl, and we tricked them with an arrest.
Judd said law enforcement seized more than 20 pounds of the synthetic opioid.
The suspects allegedly trafficked fentanyl from Mexico to California.
A portion of the drug shipment was ultimately smuggled to Florida. The Federal Reserve will be front and center this afternoon with its latest announcement on interest rates. Many analysts expect the Fed will hold rates steady, leaving them at the highest they've been in more than 2 decades. The Federal Reserve isn't deflating its fight against inflation. Despite that, most economists predict Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell will hold interest rates steady for the 2nd time in a row. The U.S. economy had a strong 3rd quarter thanks to, in large part, to a robust consumer spending. However, even if interest rates hold still, they're still at a level not seen in 22 years. And some analysts say that could cause financial concerns. The Federal Reserve has raised interest rates 11 times since March of last year, and Fed officials say a 12th hike is possible in December. The U.S. economy may soon hit a snag for various reasons, including the resumption of student loan repayments, soaring bond yields, and a possible government shutdown later this month. Today concludes the two-day U.S. Federal Reserve monetary policy meeting, and the central bank will announce its decision of whether to raise interest rates or not.
Joining us now to discuss is NTD Business host Don Ma. Don, how likely is it today that we'll see another rate hike from the Fed?
Well, as Chris mentioned earlier, the Federal Reserve is widely expected to announce today that it's going to hold interest rates steady. But let me just add to that. Investors, in fact, consider it a near certainty that this will be the case. And if that happens, it would be the second consecutive meeting that the Fed keeps rates unchanged. But that doesn't mean the Fed is done hiking rates, because Fed Chair Jerome Powell made it clear that the U.S. Central Bank is leaving the possibility of another hike on the table, in case inflation doesn't come down as fast as they want. The U.S. Central Bank will release its latest policy statement at 2 p.m. this afternoon, and we'll know for sure at that time. And then at 2:30 p.m., Powell is going to hold a press conference, and right now, that's the more important part to look at for most people. Investors will be listening very closely to every word Powell says to get some hints about what the Fed will do next. For example, how long they will keep interest rates high, and if they're done hiking rates. There will be no updated economic or rate projections released at this meeting. So it really puts the focus on whether the new policy statement or Powell's comments seem to lean toward or away from any more increases.
And what should we expect from Powell's comments today, Don?
Well, Chris, first of all, I think what Powell says today will be similar to what he said a couple weeks ago in New York. He's probably going to say that future interest rate increases will depend on incoming data. He's not going to say the Fed is done hiking rates, of course, because he's going to leave the possibility of another rate increase on the table. And he will likely say this because he doesn't want markets to go up too much, because if markets go up, consumers are going to feel more confident. And when consumers feel more confident, they're going to spend more, and that increases economic activity, which could further fuel inflation. And that's not really what the Fed wants. So I think Powell has to keep the possibility of another rate hike open. Powell will say something along the lines of, Fed officials are still determining the extent of additional policy firming that may be appropriate to return inflation to target. But any change to that phrase could signal Fed policymakers feel they're closer to reaching a sufficiently restrictive stance on monetary policy compared to before.
All right, thank you so much, Don.
Thank you.
The verdict is involving the National Association of Realtors and a major antitrust lawsuit case. A Missouri jury on Tuesday found that the real estate industry trade group and some residential brokerages are liable for nearly $1.8 billion in damages. The federal jury found them guilty of conspiring to keep commissions for home sales artificially high. The case involved claims by home sellers in Midwestern states covering home sales between April 2015 and June of 2022. An attorney for the plaintiffs called the verdict a result that holds the companies accountable. The National Association of Realtors said it plans to appeal the verdict and asked the court to reduce damages awarded. The group of brokerages also found liable includes Home Services of America and two subsidiaries in Keller Williams Realty. A spokesperson for Home Services says the company will also appeal. WeWork is set to file for bankruptcy as soon as next week. That's according to a Reuters source. The office sharing company has been struggling with big losses and a massive pile of debt.
Now, bankruptcy would mark a major fall from grace. Back in 2019, it was valued at $47 billion. But WeWork has been in turmoil ever since its plans to go public imploded that same year.
Investors grew skeptical over its business model, which sees it take long-term leases on buildings and then rent out the space short-term. Its mounting losses also triggered alarm. However, it finally went public in 2021 at a much reduced valuation.
Bankruptcy would also be a big black mark for WeWork's main backer, the Japanese investment firm SoftBank. It plowed billions into WeWork in a bid to turn things around, only to see the losses keep piling up. WeWork had no comment on the latest news reports. And Tesla advertises its cars as having an autopilot and even a full self-driving mode. Among other things, they're meant to keep the driver safe. But the technology raises a question: who's to blame when there's a crash?
On Tuesday, a state court outside Los Angeles sided with Tesla in a closely watched trial. It ruled that the automaker wasn't liable for a 2019 crash that killed the driver and seriously injured 2 passengers. The incident saw a Tesla Model 3 sedan veer off the road at high speed and strike a tree. Lawyers for the firm argued the driver had consumed alcohol before the crash and said it wasn't clear if autopilot was engaged at the time. Now the verdict suggests Tesla's main argument is gaining traction. When something goes wrong on the road, ultimate responsibility lies with the driver. The company says it has always stressed that autopilot and full self-driving, despite the names, do require human monitoring at all times. An attorney for the plaintiffs expressed disappointment at the ruling, but he said the jury's long deliberations indicated that the debate was finally balanced. Tesla welcomed the verdict and said its cars make the roads safer. The company also won a trial in Los Angeles earlier in the year over a non-fatal accident. Legal experts say it's proving hard to pin any liability on the firm.
Now you can join the Air Force or the Space Force even if you're 40 years old. The 2 branches raised the recruitment age limit to 42. The Air Force says it made the change because of a lack of applicants. This year's recruitment target was missed for the first time since 1999. Earlier this year, the Air Force also relaxed tattoo and prior drug usage regulations. The new age limit is predicted to bring in an additional 50 recruits per year. In more military news, the Pentagon is encouraging people to report UFO sightings. It launched a new website yesterday for current and former service members, as well as civilian government employees and contractors.
It will help the Department of Defense compile accounts, which Congress has ordered it to do. The historical record report is due to Congress by June next year.
The reports don't have to be recent. They can date all the way back to 1945, and they're all voluntary.
According to the website, the platform is not intended for conveying potentially sensitive or classified information, and active military personnel should still report new phenomena through their normal processes.
Meanwhile, civilian pilots are encouraged to report unidentified objects to Air Traffic Control, which are subsequently submitted to the Federal Aviation Administration.
Coming up, Ukraine is telling its troops they have to keep fighting and not hope for instant success. Meanwhile, Russia says Ukraine's expected fighter jets won't even last a month.
And taking away a terrorist's citizenship. Australia has a law allowing the government to do that, but a court isn't allowing it. Find out why when we return.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be, and the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones, and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can understand.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me.
And me.
And me.
And me.
So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshiners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
Anyone who's ever sold a home can tell you it is really hard. That's why who you work with matters. Together with Homelight, we've helped thousands of people sell faster and for the best price.
There's always a searching process for beauty. You know it when you see it.
Welcome back. Now we head to some top news from around the world.
First, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky praised attacks on the Russian Navy in the Black Sea.
But he's urging his troops to keep going in a world that expects instant success.
The modern world is set up in such a way that it becomes accustomed to success too quickly. When the full-scale aggression began, many in the world did not think Ukraine would endure. The colossal things done by our people, by our soldiers, are now taken for granted. Ukraine's success in the battle for the Black Sea is something that will be in the history books.
Meanwhile, Ukraine only made little progress along the 600-mile front line in recent months. A Ukrainian counteroffensive launched in June has achieved only limited success. That's despite capturing several villages in the east and south.
Zelensky previously rejected criticism from the West that the counteroffensive was proceeding too slowly. He said the war was not like a Hollywood movie set.
This comes as Ukraine is expected to receive F-16 fighter jets from Western nations. Russia's defense ministers today said the fighter jets will be taken down rapidly.
The minister cited previous performances of Russia's air defense system. He calculated how long Russia would need to take down all expected Ukrainian F-16s.
With this kind of performance of our air defense systems, it is worth about 20 days of work.
Besides saying the jets would only last 20 days, Russia also said Ukraine's military forces are depleted. However, it's not clear if that's really the case.
The Netherlands and Denmark are the countries donating the fighter jets to Ukraine. The U.S. will support the shipment process. The U.S. is also helping train the pilots. Ukraine's Air Force is still made up mostly of Soviet-era aircraft.
Political and tech leaders are in the UK for a summit on artificial intelligence safety. That's to debate how and even if the risks of the technology can be contained.
Among attendees are Elon Musk, ChatGPT boss Sam Altman, and around 100 others.
Prime Minister Rishi Sunak initiated the summit. He says he wants Britain to be the intermediary between the economic blocs of the US, China, and the European Union.
Skeptics question how much influence Britain can wield when the US, the G7, and the European Union are pushing other initiatives.
Yesterday, Northern Italy. Today, Northern Ireland. Residents across Europe are dealing with severe flooding this week.
Floodwaters are waist high in parts of Northern Ireland today. This is due to Storm Kieran, which is expected to hit the UK later today.
People were seen using boats to get around and smashing windows to enter their flooded businesses and restaurants.
One local resident said the damage would be difficult to understand until the water clears. Another local man said it was unlike anything he'd ever seen.
Meanwhile, down in the Balkans, a Swedish crime boss was killed in Bosnia. Bosnian police says one Swedish citizen was killed and another one injured in a mafia-style execution.
Both of the victims are involved in drug trade in Sweden. The killer was reportedly riding a bicycle and shot both individuals with silencer guns.
Police this morning said that a Swedish individual was arrested in Bosnia in connection with the murder. And lastly, an Australian man convicted of terrorism won't be losing his citizenship. The country was trying to strip him of it.
But Australia's highest court today overturned the government's decision, saying that it can't do that.
That's although Australia has a law allowing dual nationals to lose their Australian citizenship on extremism-related grounds.
The new ruling also prevents the government from deporting the Algerian-born terrorist when he's released from prison, which is expected within weeks. Australia's Prime Minister says his government will examine the ruling.
In the midst of the Israel-Hamas war, Israel's name appears to be missing from leading Chinese maps. NTD verified the reports as of Tuesday.
Platforms like Baidu, a leading Chinese search engine, and Alibaba serve as China's equivalent to Google Maps. NTD's Tiffany Meyer has the report.
On Baidu Maps, countries that neighbor the Jewish state are clearly labeled. But when you zoom in on Israel, only its border and major city names are displayed. It's unclear if this change is new. But Beijing has taken aim at foreign platforms in the past, whose maps did not acknowledge China's territorial claims. The Wall Street Journal first reported the story. In response, China's foreign ministry on Tuesday said it has normal diplomatic relations with Israel. A spokesperson said the country is clearly labeled on the standard maps issued by the Chinese authorities. The statement appears to contradict reports. China has yet to condemn Hamas since the war broke out. The country's foreign minister Wang Yi also accused Israel's response of going beyond self-defense. Israel said it's deeply disappointed over China's failure to condemn Hamas. Beijing has proposed a two-state solution to the conflict. It would involve the creation of an independent state for Palestinians and for Israel.
And Israel will never agree to that. However, by attempting to make that agreement, it makes China look like the good guys. China is able to say, look, we proposed this peaceful solution and Israel rejected it. Therefore, Israel is the bad guy.
Hamas, the terrorist group controlling Gaza, has rejected the idea and has vowed to wipe out Israel. Chinese tech giants Alibaba and Baidu refused to comment to a Wall Street Journal inquiry about the reports.
Taiwan says China has sent 43 more military aircraft and 7 ships to the waters surrounding the self-ruled island. We hear from retired Marine Colonel Grant Newsham, who now serves as a senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy, for insights. Colonel Newsham, thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, I'd like to look at the strategic implications for the U.S. in regards to China's continuous pressure on Taiwan, especially in light of its recent increase in military aircraft near Taiwan.
Well, it's a huge problem for the Americans. They've suddenly got 2 big conflicts going on, one in Ukraine, one in Israel, Gaza. You can only handle so many of these. From a military perspective, it's tough to provide adequate coverage, but also from a political perspective, it's very hard for an administration to do all these things at the same time. And you have to have a sense of priority, even if you don't want to. And unfortunately, the Asia-Pacific just might get short shrift on this. The Americans aren't ignoring it, but it's a lot to handle.
And do you expect that the Chinese Communist Party will take advantage of this situation to advance its long-standing agenda to take over Taiwan?
Well, I think they're sorely tempted. They can do the math as well as anyone. They see how much hardware the Americans have. They see what their political position is, how chaotic things are in the U.S., how much resources are being drained in the Middle East and Ukraine. And as I said, they must be sorely tempted.
And so what do you think that we should be on the lookout for? What warning signs should we consider?
Well, hopefully the CIA, with its $90 billion a year budget, is doing its job and knows what the Chinese are planning to do. I wouldn't count on that, however. But you do have to watch for the sort of movements, in particular, of hardware personnel that the Chinese presumably will have to make before a move on Taiwan. And a move on Taiwan, of course, could mean different things, an all-out assault or a blockade or something in between, or going after some offshore island that the Taiwanese have. But you really have to pay close attention. Make sure this does not become just a low priority that you hope nothing happens. You really do have to prepare for the worst, be on your guard, and we have got to get our financial house in order and rebuild our military, and fast.
And if China did make an advance on Taiwan, how do you think the Russia-Ukraine and Israel-Hamas wars could affect U.S. support at that point?
Well, it gets tough. As I said, you can only do so many things. And also, I would suggest that Israel probably has more support in the United States than Taiwan does. There's more of an understanding of Israel and its importance. There's more political support and backing that Israel has. Taiwan, not so much. And the Chinese do have a big constituency in the United States, on Wall Street, the business class, and even the political class, who will say, well, don't go to war, don't risk nuclear war over some rocks, over a rock, which is Taiwan. It's way out there. Who knows much about it? Just let it go. That is very dangerous. So the dynamic is different. And there is a lot of risk here, and it's coming to us very fast.
I see. And Colonel, just lastly, President Biden is to be meeting with Chinese Communist Party leader Xi Jinping later this month. Do you expect that he'll bring up Taiwan? And if so, what do you hope that he'll say?
Well, he'll bring it up, and he'll probably say America supports it, something like that. But we are so desperate to engage, to talk to the Chinese, that we'd look ridiculous. This is not how you deal with the Chinese. You think we'd know better. I'm glad the adults are in charge, but I don't have much confidence.
Well, with that, thank you so much. Colonel Grant Newsham, Senior Fellow at the Center for Security Policy. Really appreciate your time.
Well, thanks very much for having me.
North Korea shutting down multiple embassies, including those in Spain, Hong Kong, and countries in Africa.
The move could mean the closure of nearly 25% of its missions worldwide.
South Korean officials call it a sign that Pyongyang is struggling financially due to international sanctions.
North Korean state media said the country's ambassadors paid farewell visits to Angolan and Ugandan leaders last week. Local press in both African countries also reported the shutdown of the North's embassies there.
North Korea has formal relations with around 160 countries with over 50 diplomatic missions overseas. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to visit South Korea next week. South Korea's foreign ministry announced his trip today.
Topics like North Korea and economic security are on the agenda. The two allies, along with Japan, recently condemned North Korea's supply of arms to Russia, viewing it as an attempt to gain military capabilities.
North Korea and Russia have denied claims of arms deals while pledging to expand their ties. President Biden announced plans to nominate Asia expert Kurt Campbell to be Deputy Secretary of State. Campbell has been instrumental in the administration's Indo-Pacific policy in his current role.
He currently serves as Deputy Assistant to the President and Coordinator for Indo-Pacific Affairs on the National Security Council. The President's nomination would promote Campbell to the #2 position at the State Department.
And samurai battled trash in the streets of Tokyo. Litter left from an evening of Halloween celebrations is no match for these brave Japanese warriors. More shortly here on NTD News Today.
This is it. the culmination of everything our young athlete has worked for these past months. He's filled with determination. You can see it in his face. Is today the day he overcomes? And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's on fire. Nothing can stop him. Watch him as he heads towards the goal. Oh, he's rock hard. But that doesn't stop him. He's a warrior. He's back up. His eyes are on the goal. He's set up for the shot. He shoots. Goal!
Achieving goals like this is only possible with the monthly support of people just like you.
Please call the number on your screen right now and give your monthly support to Shriners Hospitals for Children so other children can reach their goals too.
If you give just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, we will send you your very own Love to the Rescue blanket as a reminder of the love you're giving us. Because of monthly support of people like you, nothing is stopping me from achieving my goals.
And here we go. There is no defense in the world that will keep him at bay. He's going left. Oh, he fakes right and continues. Look at those moves. He takes the shot. Goal! Please call or go online now. If operators are busy, call again or go to loveshriners.org to give right away. Your monthly gift helps kids achieve their goals. Goal!
A friend of mine, she told me about Benatti. He was the only one to address all 4 deaths as quickly as possible. And if you're to that point where you can't take it anymore, like I was, do your research, find out who the best is, and get it done.
Benatti succeeds where others fail.
Life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome. Prediabetes does. With early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test today. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org.
There's always a searching process for beauty. You know it when you see it.
From ancient epics and fairy tales to Lord of the Rings and manga. A new exhibition that opened at the British Library explores the influence of fantasy throughout the ages. Maps, manuscripts, costumes, and film props give insight into the evolution of the genre. A curator for the exhibition tells us more.
The world of fantasy and its evolution is the theme for this exhibition at the British Library.
The thing that always springs to mind with me is dragons, but of course not all fantasy has dragons. Adventure, a different world, coherent world building that makes something that is not of our own world, but that we completely identify with and plunge into, and even think, I would love to live here. Detail the imagination that the authors and creators bring to it. I think those are the important things.
The oldest known epic story, Gilgamesh. The Chinese novel, Journey to the West, a 14th century version of Homer's The Iliad, and works from J.R.R. Tolkien are among the items on display. The exhibition also looks at how a story ends.
Well, particularly with fairy tales, of course, the classic ending we think of is happy ever after. And one of the things we show in that part of the exhibition that it isn't always happy ever after. Sometimes it is, the prince and the princess marry and they live a happy life. Sometimes it's not. Hans Christian Andersen, of course, was the king of the unhappy ending. But endings can also be what J.R.R. Tolkien described in an essay as the eucatastrophe, the good catastrophe, when something bad turns to good.
Tales that endure in our modern society and still impact people's lives today.
One of the things that fantasy helps us to do is to look at, in modern life, is to look at our own life through a different prism, to take our own problems and transport them into another world and in a way work through them that way and think of alternative endings and possibilities that we might not see before us in the real world. Many ancient fairy tales and iconic quests are still influential today. This exhibition will be running until the end of February next year. Jane Worrell, NTD News, London.
How to make picking up trash glamorous. Don a samurai costume.
Oh, that's how. Noble souls took to Tokyo's streets to clean up. They wielded garbage tongs and picked up litter left from an evening of Halloween celebrations.
NTD's Andrew Thomas has more on the volunteers.
Trash-picking samurai have attracted a large fan base since the group formed in 2006. Now they have nearly 800,000 followers on TikTok.
Right now we have 3 members in Tokyo, 2 in Los Angeles, and also 1 member of the first generation in Hokkaido Prefecture. Members in Tokyo dress up as samurai and perform trash picking in Japanese samurai style 5 times a week.
Japan is famous for its cleanliness, but some sanitation samurai say that image is only partly true. They pick up empty beer cans, plastic bottles, and cigarette butts in this district known for its nightlife.
If we can draw attention on the street, people who have no interest in the trash problem will become aware of it. There are many other volunteer groups picking up trash, but they are hardly recognized by passers-by.
Occasions such as Halloween leave a lot of trash. Residents say the trash-picking samurai have made a difference.
Normally I don't litter, but after seeing what they did, I started paying attention to the littering issue, and I would stop people from littering when they are about to do so.
Naka hopes to become a full-time samurai trash picker if it becomes a paid profession. Andrew Thomas, NTD News.
Wow, I guess that's why they say the streets in Japan are often pretty clean. Another reason is because I guess there are few public trash cans, at least according to Japan Today. People don't expect others to pick up their trash, so if there's no trash cans, yeah.
Okay, yeah, both practical and cultural. I feel like this is a really interesting development culturally wise, like
right.
Pulling on the traditions, that they're so proud of already, because cleaning up, can seem like a drag, really. We have something in Australia called Clean Up Australia Day, where everybody's meant to go out and just clean up their local area. That's something. But actually, I do know of a town in Japan where the whole town is trying to go zero waste.
Wow. What is zero waste?
Well, they recycle about 80% of their trash. So you would produce some trash, you'd assume, but at least they do something else with it.
Speaking of trash,
yeah.
I guess 83% of Halloween costumes are thrown away every year, and about a billion pounds of pumpkins are thrown out.
Wow, incredible. Well, there are efforts I've seen online of people even in the U.S. also taking to the streets to clean up all of those little sweets wrappers that tend to be strayed all over the streets.
I'll see you there, Steph.
All right.
Our ancestors warned us that the feelings we have can have an effect on our character and soul.
How to recognize toxic emotions. Here's Gina Marie with Strong Mind and Body.
Nowadays, scientists tell us that emotions have biochemical consequences. Joy and contentment are linked to wellness, and emotions like fear and anger are linked to pain and disease. Of course, our fear of pain itself means that pain can also lead to fear. For many, this connection between fear and pain can create a vicious cycle. But researchers have been able to resolve this cycle through psychological treatments. These treatments focus on the patient's mental and emotional state rather than their body. Anger also has its consequences, like being linked to poor health in old age. At a physiological level, researchers say anger raises cortisol levels and can lead to pain. Anger and depression are also linked to a greater risk of cardiovascular disease and other ailments. Long-time Epoch Times health contributor Conan Milner says that pain is often delivering a message. That message can tell us that we've got something amiss in our character. So if negative emotions can cause pain and disease, can positive emotions heal them? Medical literature contains numerous examples. This includes diseases like cancer that have been spontaneously reversed after an act of forgiveness. Forgiveness is the natural counter to anger. Beyond forgiveness, there are several things we can do to keep anger in check. If that anger is with a specific person, it may be important to take a deeper look at yourself. If your anger arises over daily frustrations, you may need to look at any unhelpful notions you are dragging around. And if you just tend to blow up, you probably need to learn how to better manage your anger. There are also other ways to tackle negative emotions. This includes mindfulness, prayer, meditation, movement, and dietary changes. Talk therapy, including addressing small traumas or big traumas, can also have a profound effect. And then there is the power of gratitude. This displaces negative emotions and focuses us on what is right and good in our lives.
A young bear is closing down a national parkway. Too many people are reportedly trying to cuddle the bear near Asheville, North Carolina.
So, the National Park Service is shutting down 8 miles of the iconic Blue Ridge Road.
The Park Service received multiple reports of visitors feeding and trying to hold the young cub in recent weeks. The superintendent said when people intentionally attract bears with trash and food, it can lead to very dangerous situations.
She said that they want to give the bear a chance to lose interest in the area before the situation escalates and visitors, or the bear, get hurt.
Fall is an important time for bears, as they may spend up to 20 hours a day foraging for food.
The Blue Ridge Parkway begins in Waynesboro, Virginia, and stretches more than 450 miles. It ends in the Great Smoky Mountains near Cherokee, North Carolina.
That's all for today's news.
Thank you for tuning in.
Feel free to reach out to us with news tips or feedback at news.today@ntd.com.
And we'll be back with more stories tomorrow.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Did you know YouTube only keeps selective videos on its platform? So if you want to make sure you get the full picture, just subscribe to our newsletter. Go to newsletter.ntd.com and sign up. It's free.